With pickups being the final piece in my 5-string bass to 6-string baritone conversion project, a lot of you had some great ideas on what to try instead of the failed original humbucker I had in there. And so I decided on a EMG 707X. A soap bar pickup with wider poles, I think. You see a lot of EMGs with an extra pole installed in awkward fan fret guitars, so I'm assuming the skewed pole spacing logic could apply to the baritone. Now the question comes of where to put this guy. Neck position? Bridge position? No. In the spirit of over-the-top experimenting, let's just route out even more wood, so we can just slide it back and forth and not have to choose. This is Kevin from Said Too Much. So first step was to get rid of all that wood in between the two cavities, and then some. I was a little worried this would make the body too weak, but I'm no longer concerned whatsoever after tuning it back up. The thing is very much still solid. I thought about drilling even further too, so you could get the pickup super close to the bridge for ultimate brightness. In hindsight, I should have went for it. If you guys ever try something like this, I'd say go ahead. Show me how it goes. On top of taking out that big chunk, I dremeled out even more wood to compensate the height the slide mechanism I came up with added. And finally, I dremeled out even more to fit wiring under that. I was worried about it getting way too thin, but my measurements worked out okay. It's not the cleanest of routing, but painting it all black again, I think it looks fine. The slide mechanism is just some drawer hardware I cut up to fit in the cavity. I'm actually pretty proud of coming up with this idea when brainstorming how I could possibly move everything smoothly. Works perfectly, just trimming down these 3 segments. The added height I was concerned about at first, but it just allows the wiring to pass nicely underneath everything in hindsight. I simply superglued it to the wood, no screws or anything, making sure it was as parallel to the sides as I could get it. The pickup fits into a 3D printed sled I designed that follows a guide I scrapped together made of some maple wood to help prevent it from wobbling, and also work with this arm and bolt to kind of clamp down with a soft felt tip to provide a variable amount of resistance when sliding, or just to make the pickup stationary overall. Some more super glue, and both of these guys are also permanently in place now. For good measure, I just roughed up the metal surfaces I was going to glue because I thought this would help the glue bond better on such a flat surface, even though the glue I bought did say it worked on metal. I really only had one shot to get everything perfectly lined up in their correct spots, but it all went smoothly. I can't really take anything apart now though without having to break something. I can take the EMG pickup out though, because it's only held in there with tape. I made sure I could get it out safely as a backup plan, or if I ever wanted to scrap this project and use its parts for something else. Would never want to hurt that beautiful guy. Looking at the design altogether, I think it's a thing of beauty. There's a small piece of wood along the other side to close in the gap and also provide a flat guide for that side of the pickup to move against. And just because I still had a lot of leftover epoxy, I put a little bit in the rough gap on the other side. Making sure everything is lubricated, it all moves so smooth and like a charm. There were a lot of factors I had to work around in my head, so it's really fulfilling to see everything come together in a final design. I was going to have a grooved guide on both sides, but this design is more than stable enough. The clamping mechanism I thought could tilt the pickup instead of really holding it in place, but again, everything is still holding up. I will say it is kind of still on the tall side than I would like. I kind of scrape the top of the pickup with a pick if I'm strumming over that area, but it doesn't interfere with the strings. Plus, I really don't think I could make that cavity any deeper without having the wiring come straight out the back or something. EMG makes it really easy and basically solderless to do all the wiring too, which was nice. I've got a volume and tone knob for this one active pickup, keeping it simple. Again, this isn't the string spacing of a normal guitar, but it all seems to line up evenly still. Might be 1 or 2 millimeters off. Also, something useful I want to point out is how on the bass tuning pegs, I could just pop the string out and back in while I was working on the body. Didn't have to buy new strings. So what do you guys think? Does this seem like a practical setup to have installed in a commercial guitar? Or is this more or less just for the sake of curiosity? It took me a while to really commit to this project idea, because I had so many others in mind that will definitely be for future videos. I'm not the first to try the sliding pickup idea either. You can find several other projects and fully envisioned instruments on YouTube. A lot less DIY looking, but maybe that's what gives my project so much charm. If you were a little more curious about the pickup, I went with the X series over the regular EMG series because it's supposed to give you more headroom and frequency response, especially in the low end. And I decided I really shouldn't be cheaping out on an instrument that's somewhere between a bass and a guitar. Some of you all's other ideas included like a rail pickup I could have tried, but for now I'm more than happy with the sound. Thanks again to all of you that gave me suggestions in the last video. Maybe you have some ideas on how I could improve this design. I think I can finally get around to making an experimental instrumental for this guy though. For now, enough said. For downloads, raw instrument tracks, and more exclusives, find our community on Patreon and consider adding your support.
Said too much.